This is Progress Culture. Progress Culture is a weekly happening where master drummer Paul F. Murphy and I share live improvised music and impromptu conversations with people from various fields and expertises about community, value, art, science, freedom, and progress for all. We are excited to share it all with you, so have a listen and see what's going on this week on Progress Culture. Now, let's get into the show. But first, let's hear some music. Everybody, Dominic Fragman and Paul Murphy here from Sonic Spirits, which includes poet Jere Carroll Murphy, and we are here today for this week's episode of Progress Culture, and fresh off of a weekend at Steam Day at the Naval Air Museum, where we got to hang out with a bunch of cool people doing cool things, building droids, and there was a guy rolling around with a full R2-D2 that he built, and that was pretty cool. Yeah, and we got to share the day and our tent with Rachel Labette, who is running for Miss Maryland.
Miss Maryland, yes.
That was cool.
Yeah.
So we had a good time. We got to play some music with a bunch of little kids and do Wicked Chops pads all day, so we had a good time. And today is an exciting day as well because we have one of the show favorites, TechPort director Tommy Luganbill is with us.
Yes, with my perfectly adjusted seat height.
And your very patriotic shorts.
In fact, this is actually a bathing suit. I'm anticipating.
Does it have one of those inner liners?
It did.
Yep.
Until I cut it out.
I don't know why they leave those things in there anymore.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm here.
And also, I'm very excited to have Icy Karbstein with us. She is a painter who lives in the area, and it's kind of interesting because I stumbled into the art gallery and found this small, beautiful painting called Full Moon Over the Bay. And last night, as I was leaving from setting all this stuff up, I was driving over the bridge and a full moon over the bay. And I said, this is absolutely perfect.
Pink moon.
Super moon, super pink super moon.
moon.
I don't know which order the words go in, but that's tonight.
Oh.
So last night it was a gorgeous open sky with a big bright full moon, and it was just like actually both of the artworks that we now have of yours, because it was Jesselyn's birthday when you all met, and Icy was kind enough to give her another one of her works as a birthday present.
Nice.
Both full moon works. So it's perfect. It lined up perfectly. We couldn't have planned it any better. So as part of that story, one of the things that attracted me to this Full Moon Over the Bay painting was that the way you had done the wave patterns in the water, and it was just, I spend a lot of time watching wave patterns. It's one of my favorite things to do. And I was just taken by the way you had done that. And then when we started emailing and you said that you had actually studied somatics and mysticism, I knew then that I was going to ask you to be on the show.
So resident layman, somatics?
Somatics we've talked about here and there on the show, which is basically just two-dimensional waveform shapes, geometric shapes that form as a part of interference patterns. Okay. So matter, imagine pouring a bunch of sand on a metal sheet and then sending a frequency that vibrates through that. As it vibrates, the sand, because it's tiny little pieces, you can see it form into a vibrational pattern that's rather interesting. They change.
All geometric.
Yeah, it's really cool. We can pull up some videos all day.
No, I've seen that. That's interesting.
Yeah.
That is cool.
So we share a common interest there, and then I guess we'll maybe start today, maybe is a better or a more sensible place to start, is we started to speak about your work and what goes behind it, and how we do the same thing. Paul and I talk about this daily, about how do we embed and communicate positivity and love in our work so that we embed it in there, and that somebody who's viewing or listening or taking it in can feel that, experiences that positivity. And before forgive me for hogging it up, but you had mentioned that this isn't something that you often get to speak about. So I'm excited to hear about it.
That's correct. I usually don't talk about it in a wider audience. And I have told just maybe like 3 friends, close friends. But I think after we met and we talked about vibration and all this, and me explaining how I put all my heart into my paintings, I think it's time to.
Well, that's awesome.
Well, I don't even really know how to begin, but I can tell you that obviously painting is my passion, one of my passions.
Sure.
And also helping other people is also one of my passions, because my father helped the world in a big way. My mom still does. And to me, I'm like, okay, of course I volunteer, I do, things here and there, but in a very small scale. And I had, it came to me in dreams, and of course, you can do good into the world, even in small things. You don't have to do, these tremendous things to be able to help someone or
Have a positive
have a
impact.
positive impact. Yes. So in my dream, it showed me that to incorporate that in my paintings, because most people see the images, and perhaps they will be touched. Their heart will be touched, and perhaps if they have an issue or a problem, which as human beings we all do have problems,
Right.
ups and downs of life, right? Perhaps that will help someone to feel better and be able to go on in life. So with all my background, going to the monastery and all this.
I mean, no, please. That was the pre-recording. So if you want to, anything that you'd like to share further about that, because this is all I'm just learning of this. That's amazing.
Yeah, not many people know about it, but I always was interested in philosophy and science and arts and religion and traditions. So in a part of my life when I had to reinvent myself because I closed down my business, my previous business, I felt myself kind of lost. I got divorced. I was through a very bad divorce, a very bad, abusive situation. And so I was really in that, kind of in between and not knowing exactly what to do, which I found that many people are in that situation not particularly these ones that I had in their lives. So I thought, okay, I have studied religion and mysticism and this and that, and maybe I need to really be totally immersed in that. So I went to live in a monastery, in a Hindu monastery, for a brief period of time, and I studied Hinduism and got certified as a yoga teacher and studied all aspects of yoga. And also I went to Buddhist temples, and so I learned that, okay, I have these issues, but so many people do too, so let's all uplift each other. I don't want to have this all to myself. It doesn't work if it's selfish. You have to uplift, bring everybody with you together, and together we are stronger. Separate, we are weaker. So we need to have that union. Besides, in essence, we are all one. We are all connected. So if one person gets out of the rut, there is strength for other people to also get out of the rut. So anyway, with that background, I am in those dreams to incorporate this aspect into the painting, or all the paintings. I first, before I even know what I'm going to paint, I meditate. I ground myself and I meditate. I had many different techniques and do prayers. Then I ask, what can I paint or should I paint that will help someone feel better, that will touch somebody's life, that is important to someone. So then I just let the image come, the images come, the intuition comes, and I let the image come from my brain to my fingers, my heart, and the brush, the paint, the canvas. And then I stay there painting. When I paint, I also put on my iPod Hindu mantras and Buddhist mantras and prayers. So I let it play, and when I do that, time goes by and I don't even notice. And I stayed there for hours, and it seems like just 2-3 minutes went by.
So, just so I'm clear, these images, these are coming out of your head? Or are you actually sitting in front of landscapes while you're doing them?
Some of them do. These ones are a combination of that, because, like I mentioned, I don't usually tell people that I meditate, I pray, and so sometimes the images I create from what comes to my brain, to my mind, actually comes to my heart.
That's awesome.
I think, yeah. And others, I incorporate some images that inspired me at the moment. Why did they inspire me at the moment? Not because they are just pretty, but because that has a message that can be also a signal to somebody else to, okay, forget about being upset, just calm down, and then you can have a better decision, make better decision to deal with the issue, to solve the issue rather than dwelling in the negativity. And of course, I'm also guilty of that. That's why I'm doing this, because we all are humans, and we all are in a work in progress. So I don't know if you want me to tell about that painting specifically.
Yeah.
Since you asked. I saw that when I was traveling. It was something like that. But what really made me decide to paint that image is that it incorporates so many things that, for instance, we have the colors of the main chakras, even in small details, small parts. We have the colors of the main chakras. We have some red, orange, yellow, green, little blue, purple. That will help, when you acknowledge something, it kind of like, it clears up. So you are in contact with that, and sometimes, especially the yellow has a lot of yellow there. It's like the solar plexus chakra that has lots of power centers that it helps you deal with the world outside yourself.
So I've done a lot of yoga, so I know what you're talking about.
Okay.
But just in case anyone, so chakras.
Oh, okay.
Could you explain what you mean by that?
Yes. The way I can understand, maybe you can explain better, but they are power centers. They are almost like, how do you call vortexes? They are vortexes. And you have it, not only 7, you have so many in your body.
Right.
And outside your body as well, in your auric field, But the you have the power centers, and each of them are related to an organ or a gland in your body, and also related to some emotional aspect.
Right. And so the different colors
and will activate
Yeah.
whatever you need will activate in you. Also, the 4 elements, earth, I put the earth as the trees, 'cause they are grounded to the earth. Air, fire was the sun, and earth, air, water, of course. It's my main thing. Water is in almost all of my paintings.
Yeah.
And so the 4 elements there, and you need the 4 elements to be balanced, to be in harmony. And of course, as you see the water with the same colors as the sky, mostly the part that is closer to the water. is the axiom, as above, so below, as below, so above. So I hope the message to that is whoever sees it not only appreciates the beauty of the painting on the outside, but also touches your heart to help you or empower you to change something in your life for the better.
It's awesome.
Yeah. I don't know. Very cool. Why? What is your connection to water, or how would you articulate that? Because I know we're all connected to it and we're made up of it. But
Right. Yes. Well, sometimes I can't even explain why.
I'm okay with that too.
It's really hard to put in words something that you have been feeling for all your life. But water is cleansing. Water is conductive. Water is life. And water has, oxygen for your breath and hydrogen for your energy.
And we're a lot of water.
Exactly. And
Quite a bit.
we are like, 75-80%?
Yes.
And our blood flows like the ocean.
Right. Yeah.
In our plasma, and it's to me we are from water.
Yeah.
So I don't like it.
I also can share the sentiment of not knowing how to articulate something. And what's funny is the more that I've been trying to live in and from the heart more, which is causing me to want to articulate things less. But I have also felt that connection to water for as long as I can remember. And these days it's sort of, as I think initially it was just the beauty and the vastness of it and the power of it that is as a good force as it can also, not to necessarily be a bad force, but can take your life just as much as it gives it. But also that there's something interesting about it, and this sort of circles back to the somatics thing, but the visualization of the way that waves work. And waves are a result of vibrations, and everything is vibrating, and all matter is vibrating, all material is vibrating. So there, and even though we cannot see through the medium of the air the way that our waves are traveling, and the way that my energy ripples out into yours, and into his, and into that, and everything that isn't even animate, that sort of visualization of all this connectedness that we all have is very clear by watching the water and the waves and the ripples and the interference patterns and the quilting and the sort of fractalization of. If you look at those tiny little ripples, you can see them all intersecting, and those quilt out into this bigger pattern, which is actually the same, into a bigger. So when you see this bigger ripple on the water, it's actually the same as the little ripples on the water. It's pretty amazing.
Yes.
That's happening in the air too, from me and you. So and that's just me saying I'm with you on the water.
Well, I totally agree.
For two people that keep claiming you don't know how to articulate things, you guys are really articulating things
very well.
So maybe you just have a false sense of reality.
it's because usually we don't have to explain because at least in my, I don't know about Dominic, but in my case, I don't talk to people a lot about it.
Interesting.
So I know the way I communicate is by image, not by words.
I don't have that problem.
But you communicate very well, and you are also, I mean, you're doing the same thing. You're looking to uplift.
No, it's interesting. I mean, it's all the same. I like the way that you said you meditate before you paint everything, and maybe other artists do that. I've just never heard an artist tell me that before. But I think that's an interesting practice for almost anything.
Right.
We do these crazy shows every week, and it's like, well, rather than just jumping into it, maybe we think about it. Is there something that we should talk about today that actually helps people? Or before I don't know. I know some people do it before they get out of bed every day, whether it's a prayer book or a meditation. I just never conceptualized it as a very practical way to create a craft. So you're doing it for painting. Now I'm thinking, well, why not try to apply that to everything? And I don't think I've ever actually thought about it that way.
I think that I don't imagine that it would have an adverse effect on anything that it would do, because the way that I talk about it on Wicked Chops Live all the time, and that is that when you have physical tension, you have mental tension, and vice versa. So if you can, meditation in some ways and in some practices is very much about the relaxation of the mind and the body. And if you can, even if you can't, most people have trouble stopping their mind from running, which I'm not even going to tell you that the goal is to stop your mind from running. But if you can bring your attention to relaxing your body from the crown of your head to the tips of your toes, and just that actually physical reality that you have here saying, wow, well, I feel tension in my thighs and I'm going to try to release that. When you release all that tension physically first, it will also go mentally. And when you release that tension, and you have clarity and you have flow. So whatever thing that you then go into, whether or not it's just thoughts or it's actual physical actions, whether it be painting or music or giving a speech, I imagine that it would only allow you to be in better flow at that point.
Yes, so I agree that we can do that. Most people meditate without even knowing.
Yeah.
They just ground themselves and take a deep breath and then go on.
Yeah, and it's funny you said that, because I was just thinking about that. Sometimes for certain people, they'll make a decision, and it might seem very sporadic, but in reality, they could just be grounding themselves in a different way, and maybe doing it very quickly. Because applying this to the idea of, sometimes people say, oh, I had a gut feeling, or they feel something physical that tells them to do something. And the people who usually say that are people who have to make very quick decisions. So maybe it's not necessarily this idea, and not saying that this is wrong, but maybe it doesn't have to be 30 minutes of meditating just to do something. Maybe it could be 30 seconds. But maybe just the idea of doing it is really the important part.
Yes.
Yeah. So maybe we'll do that today for the show later.
Well, when I was at the monastery, we used to do walking meditation.
Oh, that's cool.
So you can even meditate while walking. So you don't need to sit with, and spend 30 minutes. You can
because I've found that in the improvisational music, that's what's happening. You are meditating.
Yes.
Because if you're not meditating, you have no control of it. And it also has its own control in itself.
That's true.
Yeah.
You have to be focused when you're in that state. And just for me, I have to be focused not on myself. I have to be focused on what I'm interacting with, but also as in what he says, what Paul says about the control. It has its own thing. You have to be able to not try to control anything, but to assimilate and sort of go where it will,
Yes.
at will. And so if you're not focused, you'll miss something, or you might try to put your spin on it too much or something. So it really just becomes like you have to stay open to that. You have to be aware and tune in.
And when you focus on that, you are in sync with the person who is playing with you. And it's the same thing in life. If you focus on something, you are constantly creating your life. So if you focus on the positive side of life, then you're going to be in sync with the positivity and creating more positivity.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And uplifting.
Uplifting, yes.
Yeah, that's what's important.
I've found too that in the music that we're playing, there's a lot of sounds that I'll use on the guitar as a harmonic instrument, or the melodic or harmonic, that many people might identify as dissonant or and jarring, right? But how can that's a sort of an imposition on the quality of that sound. It is a sound, and it has harmony. It is harmony, and it is in sync, therefore, right? So how then can I facilitate others' perception of the jarring and dissonant? How can I implement it in a way that it still comes off as uplifting and positive? And that's very much, for me, one of the things that I focus on as well. It's like, I don't want, even when it feels ominous, because like you said, there's the ups and downs, and you have to go on the ride and accept all for all. So if you can say, all right, well, that ominous thing, well, it's not making me feel yucky.
Yeah, but that kind of goes to what she said, which is that you can't impact what they're going to feel. They're going to feel whatever they're going to feel. And it's just like she was saying, well, if I look at the yellow and I need it from the solar, what is it?
Solar plexus.
Yeah, solar plexus. And then that's what'll draw to me. But if that's not what I'm looking for, then I'm not going to see it.
But if she didn't choose to put it in there at all, then you wouldn't have that opportunity, or and for her to be able to have the understanding of what it means and where it can be placed in order to create that effect for a viewer.
But like
Right.
but so you could play a note that might sound ominous to one person, and then that could be upsetting to you, but it might not feel the same way to somebody else.
Sure.
Right.
Not everybody sees the same thing. In fact, we don't.
Right.
Right. We can't.
Yes, and that's why when you do something positive, you want to bring in everybody. It's your intention, it's your thoughts. Your thoughts are high frequency vibration, right? And they travel through space and time. So you don't have to make that person see the same way as you do. Just wait until that person gets to that same vibratory frequency, and that person by themselves will see it. So just keep doing what we're doing, little thing
That's
or
what I
small
always say.
thing.
Every day
I
I ask
tell them
Connie, I'm like, what do we need to
every
do now?
week.
What do we need to do now?
Be positive.
Exactly the same thing.
Man, that's awesome. So this is quite I had no clue about any of the monastery stuff and all these things. It's just very interesting to hear the way that it comes together for you, and then it goes into everything that you do, and picking up on all this water that you.
Yes, yes.
What about this one over here? With the water, with the more water.
The more water. Well, that one is called The Rain is Coming. At first, that inspired me after I went boating with my husband. And it was a perfectly sunny day. And we were on the Potomac River. And then all of a sudden the winds changed. And we said, okay, well, we've been boating for a long time, let's go back home. And when we were going back towards Britain Bay, I look back and I see this other world. It seemed like it was another dimension.
Wow.
You know, it's like over here it's super sunny and amazing, all clear. And in the back it's, you know, there is like all this amount of clouds, and I can see the rain, you know, down, and it's approaching fast. So that was one of the inspiration, and it was incredible that when I did I didn't go immediately paint that, so because I first meditate and I ask, you know, what do I need to paint to? So, and then that came to my mind. I said, okay, well, and at first I didn't really know why I was painting that, because it was the first time I actually painted rain that way. And so I just let it happen. But as I was painting and playing the mantras, I had this message in my heart that life always changes, everything changes, and things change fast sometimes slower, but most of the time they change fast. And according to your frame of mind, your feelings, your emotions, that will dictate how you're going to react towards the change. So when the rain's coming and that storm is coming, if you're not balanced, if you're not in that higher vibratory frequency of thought or of, you know, good feelings, you are going to be shook up. And then it's almost like when it rains, it pours, right? But when it rains and pours, the sun is still shining. So you have to choose. Which polarity are you going to be trying to focus yourself on, trying to put yourself on? And yeah, you can ride the storm, but you can choose either to freak out and ride the storm and maybe not solve the problem, or you can choose to be calm and, you know, this too shall pass. And then calmly from your heart, you see what can you do to solve it rather than, you know, freak out. So that was what came to me while I was painting and listening to the mantras. When I started painting, I didn't know the meaning of that. I only knew that, okay, that's an image I saw while I was boating, and I really liked it, and it was kind of dramatic. But yeah, here the sun is shining. Over there,
Storming.
Yeah, big storm. But it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Right. When you were studying the Buddhism, were you also chanting?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we
And it
learned
was it the Nichiren?
I'm sorry?
Nichiren
No.
Buddhist?
No, I'm into the Tibetan Buddhist, which is more mystical. Although I learned, what I actually studied was the Hinduism,
Okay, yes.
yoga.
Yeah.
Yes, and many aspects of yoga. And Buddhism is what my heart calls me to.
Okay.
If I had a monastery, Buddhist monastery at that time close by, I would have gone there.
Right.
But both of them are kind of the same.
That's similar. Yeah.
The roots are the same.
Yeah.
And so the Tibetan Buddhist is a little different from the other Buddhist traditions. They are a little more mystical. They
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
they're mystical,
Right.
and that attracts me because I like to learn about the unknown. I don't like to be afraid of the unknown, and most of us are just accustomed to what we are accustomed to, our daily routine and our little space, and we are afraid to see what's beyond. And when you actually go without fear, then maybe what you're going to find is something really awesome.
Right.
Maybe not, but maybe so.
Yeah. I wrote a song about it. I mean,
Oh,
I've
you
got several
did?
songs about it. Yeah, there's a song called Into the Darkness where I had this experience where I was getting more and more afraid of the dark because I was running wild up here, but it wasn't just the darkness of the dark and the light. It was also the concept of the scary things that that the energies that you may find to make you feel bad or feel that are evil, but you just don't understand them and you're scared. And so I wrote this song. There was much more to it. It was all about, actually I went through this thing where it was about sight and being blind. And I watched all these TED Talks in a row of these blind people talking about how they very easily can traverse the world and learn things without sight. And so I wrote this song called Into the Darkness, and is this light all we need? Is it true that the darkness only hides? And does water not flow through the shadows? Is beauty kissed only by rays? Setting in west is no ending. Nimbus brings life with the rain.
Oh, that's beautiful.
So, you're this thing about the things that are unknown, the darkness is there's you do not fear. Go forward with confidence. Jere told me that. As long as you know inside of you, it cannot affect. It can't hurt you.
That's awesome. That's
It was awesome, actually. It was crazy. But yeah, so I think that I don't want to be, I guess it's my job to be the one that sort of taps the thing on it, but we're at that time, and I just want to say that, man, I really appreciate you coming in and for the first time in front of people that are not your very close friends, sharing what goes into this work, because I think it's important that people not only know those things, but in hearing them, they might also realize them in themselves, for themselves, or that they're already doing it, and that this is the path that they are on and can stay on, because it is a path to be on. So, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. Awesome meeting everybody.
Please feel
Thank
free to
you.
come to TechPort anytime and hang out and speak German with Brian and his wife.
Yes.
Or, come back on the show anytime, we'll
Thank you.
do it whenever you want.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you for being
Thank
here. Every week, Progress Culture, sonic-spirits.com, progressculture.org, and thank you so much to our sponsor, Southern Maryland Loves You. We love them, and we think you should too. So, please.
It's a great motto.
Back and hang.
Awesome.
We'll see you next time. Take care. Thank you all so much for being with us. We appreciate you sharing your time and consideration. Please feel free to reach out to Sonic Spirits and Progress Culture at sonic-spirits.com and progressculture.org. You can also connect with us through our sponsors at techportsomd.org and somdlovesyou.org. We'd love to hear from you if you're working on something awesome, or you have ideas for future shows, or you just like to say hello. Thanks for joining us, and we hope to see you next time. Much love, and see you soon.